Thanks for tuning in today. I was with a group in Victoria yesterday, a group of education leaders, and I was just having these conversations around, about building leadership capability. But one thing that came out at the end, it's like, when the session was over, I was chatting to a woman there, and they're looking at rolling out a mentoring program the following year. And she said, we're finding it really hard to attract people to mentor, even though people are mentoring informally anyway. And I said, you've kind of just got to avoid the word mentoring because it has a lot of baggage associated with it. If you think about the book, The Coaching Habit, written by my friend, Michael Bungay Stanier, something that we spoke about when I had him on my podcast is that he's like, look, the word coaching also has a lot of baggage on it, and people have their own interpretation of what a coach is. And there's sporting coaches who are highly directive. But in the world of what Michael talks about in his book is about being more curious, being more often, and being lazy. And actually just using clever questions, using a series of 7 questions to help coach someone. And I kind of think the same relates to mentoring. I think there's a bit of pressure there if you sign up for a mentor, as if, you've got to have all the answers. I also think that the biggest resistance to becoming a mentor, and this is what I was talking to Sylvie about, she was saying that the resistance is, I don't want to volunteer to be a mentor because in my mind, I see that being as though I'm going to have these, well, first of all, the burden and the responsibility of someone else's development on me, even though I'm so busy. Like, that's it. It's a time obstacle that I think is the biggest resistance to becoming a mentor. So I shared with her, hey, there's numerous ways that you can add value / help develop someone that doesn't involve spending 1 hour every couple of weeks or, once a month, making that commitment. And really, if you are meeting in person, it's never an hour. There's always like that commute time. So it's at least a 2-hour thing, even if you're only meeting for an hour. If it's a virtual call, it's still something in your calendar that can be tough when, like I said, everyone's plates are really full. I'm getting a real sense at the moment, mid-October, that people are just really close to burnout, really trying to get towards the end of the year. Everyone's planning for 2026 already. Especially in Australia, we kind of really shut down from, I would say, early December through to after Australia Day, February. Sometimes, because that's a short month, things don't really kick off again until March. So people are just trying to smash some things in this like month of October and November. Promoting a mentoring program, I think definitely would be just avoiding the word mentoring, or really being smart in how you define what a mentor is. Maybe even giving it a catchy name. I don't know, like a 90-day mentor sprint where you hook people up as mentor and mentee and then they just sprint, but providing numerous ways to do that. So obviously I love asynchronous communication. I record this podcast once. It goes out to many of you that can listen in your own time. Not to say that every mentor has a podcast, but there's ways that I've had mentors from afar and they're people I don't even know. So listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, listening to Tim Ferriss, these people on their podcast, they're adding value to me, and we have this weird parasocial relationship. So that's one thing, is mentoring. You actually don't even need to have a one-on-one relationship or conversation. I know that's not what this company is trying to do, but I think voice notes are really effective. I use voice notes. I mean, this is the whole thing around Leanne on Demand. The podcast title of this actually came out from a service I offered a couple of years ago, which is like voice note coaching, because I have listeners and readers and people around the world who wanted to access my ideas based on what they were going through. Obviously, with time zone differences being in Australia, it's really tough. So we do voice note conversations, and it has single-handedly changed everything. Some people hate voice notes, others love them. If you listen to this, I love a good voice note. What it does though, why it's so helpful for the mentee, I think more importantly, is that when a mentee has to ask a question of the mentor, there's a lot of work that actually goes into figuring out what the question is. And sometimes when I've asked someone a question, before I even ask the question, I'm just talking through some things and I kind of figure out the answer. I figure out what I want just by having that space to ask a question. And so if you do that via voice note, just have more of that reflection time. As a mentor, it's great because you can pick it up in your own time, listen to it. I often, with Leanne on Demand, I'd often tune into those. I kind of made a rule for myself that I'm only going to respond to these when I'm outside, because I want to obviously be more active when I'm at the dog park to make it more joyful. And usually I'd listen to the voice note when it came in, and then I'd sort of let it simmer, because there's an immediate response and then there's probably a better response a few hours later once I've thought about it. But also I'm using a tool like WhatsApp to run your voice notes. You can also just send links. People ask me questions that I've already recorded podcasts about, or that could become a podcast episode for this show. So there's just a lot of different ways. I don't think it just has to be the structured 1 hour, let's have a conversation. And I think an hour also is sometimes too long. If you have 30 minutes, there's a container there where you can actually just be, get to the point. The other thing I'd suggest with the mentor-mentee relationships is that the mentor should not be driving it at all. It should be driven by the mentee. They should be the one reaching out, making appointments, setting the agenda. the mentor should be there to rock up and just have a conversation. I don't think a mentor should prepare at all, because basically as a mentor, you reflect on your own experiences and what you've learned, and you're sharing that. So you don't really have to research anything, because mentoring is quite different from advisory and coaching. A mentor is really about, hey, here's what I've tried, here's what worked for me. I'm not saying it will work for you, but I'm just sharing my experience with you in the hope that it helps you and providing that perspective. So those are a few ways that I always ease the pressure. If you're getting people within your organization to become a mentor, as you know, I always love Jenny Blake's phrase, friend-touring. I really like the peer-to-peer side of mentoring. I really like having peers that I can talk to, and I've got a ton of friend tours around the world, and we voice note all the time on different things, ideas, pricing, marketing, life. So that's my idea for you today is don't use the word mentor, or if you are, just change the expectation and really communicate that. But I think there's different ways that you can get people involved in a low friction way that doesn't add more to their schedule. And they can also, people love giving back and sharing their advice and knowledge. It's very beneficial being a mentor. There's so many amazing things related to it. But yeah, I think so in your program, you've got to communicate the benefits of that, and also how to engage in it in a way that's not going to create more stress or tension in an already busy calendar. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.